Great. Everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for joining this evening. This is our very first episode of what we're calling Unity Time. So this is our kind of novel podcast speaking about unity. As its name suggests, we think it's kind of like a more thoughtful conversation, a little less, here's some slides and we're presenting you all of the data. We want this to be as much of a conversation between the two of us. And we're also kind of referring to this as like a modern tea time. We're spilling the tea, all the tea that there is to know about unity. So we're very, very excited for this. We even have our special kind of unity mugs here. So we're truly spilling the tea tonight. We want to share our real world experiences using unity. So we're very excited to welcome everybody here tonight. I'm Dr. Ashley Brissette. I'm an ophthalmologist at Kelly Vision here in Manhattan. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Dr. Matthew Rauen.
Thanks, Ashley. Really glad to join you for this inaugural UNITYtime series. I'm a cataract, cornea, and refractive surgeon in Des Moines, Iowa. I have to admit, I have three daughters who follow you on social media. So in my world, my coolness factor went to a lukewarm scale of 0 to 10, probably a 2. I'm probably up to a 4 being able to join you here tonight.
That's so fun. I always jokingly like to think that ophthalmology is a pretty cool specialty. And so I love that people are starting to learn even more about ophthalmology.
Terrific. And I think it's really exciting. We, go through these moments periodically in our careers. I was fortunate enough to train with Infinity, made that transition to Centurion, and now we're moving to UNITY VCS. So it's really exciting to be here with you tonight.
Yeah, I always say, so much of what I do now, I didn't even learn in my training. I think the pace of innovation has just incredibly changed so much over the past number of years. And I also think it's not just a cool time to be in ophthalmology, but like a really exciting time because of everything that we have. So I just think this is such a wonderful podcast to be a part of because of that, because we're really going to be able to highlight for everybody what some of these innovations are and why things have changed so much over the past number of years. So I'm really excited for our series and to be spilling all of the tea tonight with all of you through our insights, everything that we've learned. I know you've been using this for some time. We actually just bought 2 of the Unity systems for our new OBS, which we just opened about a month ago. So I think this is going to be really helpful, not just for people watching, also for myself. I'm kind of a newer user with it myself as well. So I think we're really going to be able to experience the extraordinary and learn about what that truly means using Unity.
I couldn't agree more. It's just truly an exciting time for ophthalmologists, cataract surgeons, vitreoretinal surgeons.
Yeah, and I know, Matt, you've had a lot of experience with the Unity system since its early clinical availability. But for those who might be newer to what Unity truly is, would you be able to give us a little bit of background around this?
Sure. So UNITY VCS represents Alcon's best-in-class platform for both vitreoretinal and cataract surgery. It is a platform that is built around superior efficiency. So the way we look at that is one platform, 2 configurations. We have best-in-class vitreoretinal capabilities, best-in-class cataract capabilities. And that's the VCS system. CS represents the cataract-specific unit. So when we look at these consoles side by side, we have a single-minded benefit, and that's for both surgeons and patients. One platform, 2 configurations. So it's a really exciting time to have the combination unit and these roll out simultaneously.
Yeah, and I think especially for us, thinking even just footprint in the OR, having a system that has both all in one was also really important for us too. So it's really cool to have both configurations into the one platform.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And as a user with a multi-specialty ophthalmology group, we have both vitreoretinal and anterior segment surgeons. So having that dual platform helps in special cases. But the other thing that's really interesting is that one user interface really helps our technicians move from room to room. So that it's just really exciting to have both capabilities built into this one platform.
It's so true. I mean, part of the team, just like happiness level is so important for even us just getting through the day as surgeons as well. And I think just having something that's easy for the team to use to configure, really efficient in getting set up. And I know we're going to get to that a little bit later in our discussion tonight, but just keeping the team happy as well, and engaged is also a really important part of it. And I think a lot of people actually were already hearing this talk of unity and innovations in phacoemulsification. I kind of, even before this came out, thought like, how much better can we get? Because we're already doing pretty well with the results that we can offer to our patients. So I was always thinking like, why would we need newer technology for phaco? But there are so many changes that have come about with the advent of Unity. What's interesting is they did a study in early 2025, and they found that over 81% of surgeons already were aware of Unity VCS CS, even before they had an opportunity to demo it. So I think even there was like a lot of excitement in the eye care community already about innovations in phaco.
Yeah, and I think just there's a shared curiosity from surgeons throughout the world. Great anticipation for this product. For so long, as you mentioned earlier, we have different areas of innovation, but I think there's a hunger, getting back to the basics in terms of our machines, both on the vitreoretinal side and cataract side. So we've had Constellation on the vitreoretinal side for a long time. We've had Centurion for a long time. So we have surgeons throughout the world looking at this transition with great anticipation. And so I think there's just a hunger. There's a lot of curiosity. And what's really exciting is as people make this transition, it's a collection of surgeons working together. It's not just individuals, and it's working with teams at Alcon to make this the best platform possible. And so I couldn't think of a better term to describe that than the word community. And so we're basically talking about the Unity community. And that's my attempt at a play on words.
Unity, I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So community would be a great term, I think, to describe what's about to happen.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. I think we should move into some of the benefits to Unity, some of these innovations, so we can talk a little bit about the Unity experience and adapting to it and learning what it truly has to offer.
I agree, Ashley. And you mentioned earlier this anticipation, not just yourself, but the greater ophthalmology community. I would love to hear more about why you're so excited about this platform or what features really entice you about Unity.
Yeah, it all kind of came about really naturally because we were planning to open an office-based surgery center. And we had been operating for years at an ASC that had Centurion. I trained on Centurion. I'm like a long time Centurion user. What's really interesting is the day that we were going to demo this, I actually felt a little bit nervous. It's something about just the comfort of using your phaco for so long. I was a little nervous what that change would feel like and how it would feel in my hands. So I think my very, very first impression, just to let everybody who's listening know, was it was actually very easy and very comfortable to transition from a different phaco system to Unity. And I think there's a few things in the technology that highlight why that is the case. One thing that stands out to me is that it uses this physiologic IOP to operate at. And my prior IOP that I was operating with was around 60. And even just the first time that we were using this, the reps at Alcon are so amazing. I know they have such a great reputation for this, but they were like, we're coming in, we're spending the entire day with you, we're going to optimize your settings. And they just started really slow. I think we went down to 50 to start. And then we even got down to 45 by my third case. So it was pretty incredible to see how just 3 cases in, I was already operating significantly lower IOP. And there's just so many benefits to our patients in terms of their experience during surgery and their recovery operating at a lower IOP. So that was my very first exposure to it. I was a little bit nervous to transition. And by my third case, I'd say I felt extremely comfortable. And then one of the other features that I think was incredibly different for me was just seeing how much more efficient the phaco could be. And I thought I was a pretty good surgeon. I'm not going to, it's funny to think to how you get used to just operating a certain way, but especially some of these more dense cataracts. And we all see those. it was using less energy than I anticipated because of this 4D phaco, which is so unique to this offering from Unity. It's a special system for the phaco, which allows it to be faster, uses less energy, with really enhanced followability, so that the pieces, even if they're those really kind of dense pieces that love to jump around in the anterior chamber, they were staying really close to my phaco tip, which just allowed for the efficiency of me being able to eat the cataract. I don't know, have you noticed that yourself as well with the 4D phaco?
Yeah, I think when you look at CDE values, they tend to be lower, but just the performance, I think to your point, there always is a little apprehension at moving to a new platform, but 4D phaco, if you have a moderately dense cataract, you can appreciate the enhancements to that. So those of us that do tackle dense cataracts, you are going to notice 4D phaco adding to your toolbox on day one. So
Yeah.
I think it's terrific.
And I thought even, okay, so probably in our OBS, we're going to be doing more RLEs or more kind of soft, straightforward cases. Like, why would we then need, all of this innovation in phaco if most of them I'm just going to flip and eat? But then something else that kind of stood out to me with using this is that you're getting less surge volume, because of these intelligent fluidics. And it just allowed me to be a more kind of cautious surgeon, just allowed for the entire experience for both myself and for also the patient to be extremely straightforward. And then one last thing that I kind of noticed is that just the setup and the teardown for the team is really efficient. It was easy for them to learn how to use this. Again, after just like one or two cases, they were pretty efficient at being able to set this up. And I think Alcon even looked at this and they found that there was like a minute more efficiency per case, which if you're doing a ton of cases in your center, that time adds up. I mean, we're always looking for ways to be more efficient. And so I think that all really matters.
Yeah, I think that the point you made about regardless of the density of the nucleus or the patient you're working with or the center location, I think a platform like this has so much built-in technology. It's going to allow us to ask newer questions and totally take our surgical techniques and just what we can deliver to the next level. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's always like a learning curve with whatever we do. But I feel like that process for me was actually very seamless. I think one, it has to do with the Alcon reps being wonderful. Like they're always willing to come and be present with our cases, optimizing every little setting for me on the device, which is always very, wonderful of them to do. And just actually the ease of transitioning was very, very straightforward. So even if someone's a little bit apprehensive to change because they're getting great results already with what they're doing, which was kind of my attitude, I saw even better than what I could personally do as a surgeon by using advanced technology like this. And I think our patients almost demand that from us. I mean, we're our own worst enemies. We're always guaranteeing surgeries are going to be quick and efficient and people are going to see perfectly the next day. But any little improvement in technology that can really allow that for our patients, I think is really important.
Well, absolutely. I think those are great points.
Did you speak to any of your peers at all when you were trialing this technology or starting to use it yourself? Like, had you heard conversations from other people about their experience as well?
Oh, for sure. I think the anticipation, the buzz was out there. I think one point you made that's excellent. Sometimes when we're, you know, Constellation, Centurion, these are proven platforms, and you just develop intense comfort with these. There's an element of trust. But one thing a wise surgeon once told me, technology always gets better. These platforms always get better. And so whether it's industry occasionally pushing us or peers or even conversations like this encouraging us to move forward, that's really our job as ophthalmologists. We do not want to be content with where we're at.
Yeah.
And the other point you made about the Elcon reps and maybe getting back a little bit to the community is there's just tremendous idea sharing. So those representatives that come in and help me, help you, they are sharing ideas with one another, which is terrific. And then there's surgeons at forums like this. And if we look going forward, the bottom line is this community is really going to help people move forward and really make this platform optimized.
Yeah, I love that. And I think what's so nice too is our community is so open and welcoming. I mean, it's like really easy to get in touch with Alcon. I've never had an issue getting anyone there in terms of support as needed. So I think that's something that stands out to me in terms of like brand integrity. I know we've talked a lot about this 4D phaco. I thought the best way to illustrate this was actually just to show this wonderful video that can actually show the movement of the phaco and why it's different than what we're used to. So I'm just going to play this, and there's some audio as well to go along with it.
The next generation of ultrasound, UNITY 4D phaco, a proprietary technology which creates an advanced multi-directional tip movement. Each cycle of its volumetric cutting pattern takes 1/10 of a second to complete, and then the sophisticated pattern is repeated. This 4D motion results in faster nucleus removal and less energy released into the eye. This bench test helps demonstrate what is happening in the eye during cataract removal. It compares performance of UNITY 4D versus torsional ultrasound in an artificial eye with a grade 4+ cataract and minimal fluidics. UNITY 4D phaco was shown to be 48% faster than torsional ultrasound, with 41% less energy delivered into the eye and 48% less dissipated energy at the incision site. UNITY 4D phaco, Alcon's most efficient lens removal ultrasound technology, is the next generation of phaco emulsification.
Yeah, so I love that video because I feel like it just so strongly illustrates how those small pieces will just stay right at the phaco tip. There's like very minimal, surge, anything coming away from it, and everything is just super efficient while keeping the CDE low.
No, I agree. And getting back to the idea sharing, um, just about a month ago, the engineers approached the equipment reps and they started sharing this idea of maybe reducing vacuum from our Centurion vacuum levels, maybe by 10 to 15%. And what they found, to your point of keeping material at the tip, it makes 4D phaco even more efficient. And so that's what I'm talking about. The collaboration is going to be refreshing, idea sharing like we're doing here tonight, and just the greater community sharing of ideas. I think it's going to be terrific.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. And I know you have a video even to show us of you in action, which we're excited to see.
So if we can roll the video here. So we can see Centurion's a terrific system. The videos pause there. And we can see efficient nuclear material, but I want to draw your attention to the limbus and that pupil. So even though we have surge mitigation going on here, I'm not worried about the posterior capsule. You can see a little bit of surge there and just see a little bit of winking of the pupil. And again, you highlighted some of the advantages of lower IOPs. But if we compare and contrast that, again, identical density of the nucleus. First day of using Unity, we see a much more stable anterior chamber compared to our Centurion. And the other thing to highlight the point on 4D phaco, this case, again, identical cataracts, we had about a 20% reduction in CDE in the Unity case. And again, this is day one showing my trust in the fluidics. I removed that second instrument, and again, a completely rock solid anterior chamber. So it highlights the benefits again of 4D phaco, highlights the intelligent fluidics. And again, some of these things you can appreciate on day one of use. So that's really, really exciting.
I've seen this myself. Everything just feels really stable. Like it's like really rock solid inside the eye. Even for these really soft lenses that I'm just like flipping, everything just feels like the chamber itself is so stable, especially if you're like in a myopic eye, getting that big kind of surge, everything can just make a patient feel uncomfortable. And if they think there's something going wrong, it truly affects their experience of the surgery. So it's better for patients, better for myself. I used to, operate at an academic center and train residents and fellows. I think this could be a game changer for that as well, for those kind of early career surgeons. Again, just keeping everything extremely stable and preventing that surge.
Yeah, I think your point about just maintenance, and this is the awesome thing about Centurion moving to Unity. just keeping that set point IOP, trusting the machine. So I think that is a key.
Yeah, can I ask, because you said you had operated with Infinity to Centurion and then to Unity, so you've seen the full platform. What is your considerations based on all of those? Like, I always felt with Centurion we had reached peak innovation, and I like couldn't believe that there was even more we could do. What has been your experience through your history with FACO?
It's hilarious for you to say that because it took me a little time to gain confidence even in Centurion. So I think obviously with the platform being available for over the last decade, we just take for granted what that involved. But back in the old days, and this goes back to the original work with Dr. Kelman, we were talking about bottle heights and not talking about these set IOPs. And so some of that was a little bit of a foreign concept when we made that transition, because to your point earlier, we were operating at 65, 70 on the IOP. And I thought back to my basic science days, man, that seems high. So bottom line is, I think having the field move to more of this set IOP, I think it's going to make this transition to Unity even easier. But to your point, these opportunities only come around so often, and there is just a leap that we have to make. But to your point, I think this transition, whether it's usage or just conceptually, I think it's going to be very natural for surgeons.
Yeah, and do you feel like even for as you get more cases under your belt and especially the team as well, that it's been really easy for the workflow? Have you seen improvement even in workflow with it?
Well, that's the thing. We've been talking so much about what this does for the surgeon, what this does to for the patient. Earlier, you pointed out that how important the team is, and so I don't think whether we're in the clinic or the operating room, we're lucky to have companies like Alcon that are more focused on the staff that really make a lot of this possible. And so I think there's been a lot of innovations with Unity that are for the staff. And some of these things might seem trivial, but it totally adds up. In terms of workflow or just moving the machine around the operating room environment, it's a robust machine, but even the wheels, it just glides through the operating room, and the cable pushers are amazing. Even engagement of the phaco handpiece into the unit, there's tactile feel to that, in addition to some LED lights that tell the staff where it is. The tray is large and robust and totally customizable. Some people are using that instead of a Mayo stand. And then one thing really neat, and our slide earlier highlighted this, one step prime is going to be a game changer for our staff. Obviously rapid turnover can put pressure on staff and maybe even affect the mood of the operating room. I think one step prime is going to offer an opportunity to the staff where they can actually take a breather. So it's not just a time saver, but maybe staff feel a little bit less pressure. And so I think it's awesome for the surgeon, it's awesome for the patient, but there's innovations built into Unity that are just terrific for the staff.
Yeah, it's also kind of, I don't know, it's just like so user friendly. Even if you happen to change from your phaco handpiece to your INA handpiece, but you haven't switched the setting over yet. Like it has like a little alarm bell as you try to go, being like, oh, you're not in the right setting. It's just like really easy for even just the staff to understand all of the different steps of the surgery and exactly how easy it is for everything to proceed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new interface, but it's very intuitive. And, as staff gain comfort and Alcon comes in and gives the excellent training, I think it's just creating a better experience for all.
So if I remember, Matt, you said that your team bought a few of these Unity devices for your systems. Like you guys, how many did you end up purchasing?
Well, I operate in a really unique environment. Our surgery center has 6 dedicated ophthalmic operating rooms. And so we were interested in acquiring multiple machines and, with vitreoretinal capabilities in a couple of them, and then the other ones for cataract specific. Um, you know,
Yeah, how do you define value in that?
yeah, so I think there's many levels. I think first of all, I think first and foremost, any center of excellence should have a decision. I want the best for my patients. And I think Alcon's track record, history of just standing by products, we're going to be using these platforms for about a decade.
Yeah.
Alcon did an amazing job. You referenced the excellent service. We gave access to all the surgeons to have time with the machines. I think that's important. But let's be honest, to gain total trust in a system, it probably requires more than 10, cases to do so. So I think, again, Alcon's track record kind of speaks for itself. I think, more on the administrative side, to your point, you got to look at these as investments in your program. I can't think of a more important part of a cataract surgery program than the actual product that removes the lens. And so, to your point, is it a proven platform? Does it have the best-in-class technology? These are all questions you have to ask. And I think Alcon historically, and I anticipate will continue to do this, whether you're an office-based center like yours or a small ASC or large hospital system, hopefully they'll continue to make really great strides to just make the technology available to the community. And I'm confident they're going to do so.
Yeah, it's funny. I think also patients are so well informed nowadays too, because they can go online and look up anything, and they will come in asking about specific technology, not just for lenses, but about laser assisted cataract surgery. And I bet you now, as we're talking more and more about the importance of phaco, this is going to be another conversation even for patients. And I agree with you. If we're leading with like patient experience first, which we all should be, I think this is really just something that, as you start to think about the collective of the staff, the surgeon, the patient, it just is kind of a no-brainer that we move forward towards new technology that continuously puts the patient first.
I agree. I think if you use those parameters and goals, you're always going to make the right decisions.
You will. It's like shared priority for all of us.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, this is great. Just advance this slide here. So Matt, your kind of experience, a lot of people have thought about introducing new technology maybe to their staff. Maybe someone who's on the call tonight has to now slowly start to convince other people who have different perspectives or other colleagues about why it's important to kind of invest in new technology. Can you describe a little bit for us your process of acquiring Unity for your practice and how that process kind of played out? Is this something that you introduce it and it's like a yes tomorrow, or is this something that requires a little bit of buy-in from the team?
Well, I think it's a combination of all the above. I think it's okay to be reflective. Sometimes, our personalities play a role here. So some of us might be viewed as early adopters, others want a little bit more time. I think, again, Alcon's track record of putting out excellent phaco equipment kind of speaks for itself. I think, again, when talking to colleagues about this, this is just simply an extension, an improvement on what Centurion did for us. And so I think if you look at it long term, the service that comes with the technology.
Yeah, and I think you can even position your group that way too, where you're a leading edge of technology and for what's available, which I think is great. And I like what you said about the peer-to-peer conversations, right? This is community, to add another Unity pun into our already pun-heavy conversation tonight. But yes, we are community. And even, Matt and I are here if anybody has any questions, even after this episode, about our experience firsthand and how this process worked. So we're definitely here. I really want to take a moment now to introduce a very special guest that we have joining us tonight. So we have Ian Bell, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Alcon, and he's going to be here to help broaden the conversation for all of us this evening.
Ashley, thank you. And thank you to both of you, Ashley and Matt. That was fascinating to hear your experience and share with us your learnings along the way. Obviously, being a Brit, I felt like there's more tea puns that I could get in here as I joined this community. So I was very happy to get a cup of tea and sit here and listen in. It's been fascinating to hear your experience. I want to thank you for your partnership. I think, Alcon was started roughly 80 years ago by Alexander and Connor, were their names, Robert Alexander and William Connor, hence Alexander Connor Alcon. And one of their founding principles was to really understand and partner with our customers to help them solve needs that they have. And this is very much at the heart of everything that you guys are doing right now, because we want to bring the very best technology. You know, as you guys have highlighted, we're hungry to make even things that people think can't be improved, like Centurion, better and better. And we strive to do that. But that's almost the start of the process. We consult closely with people like yourselves as we do that. But then it's one thing to have the best technology, to learn how to really use it in the right way is really critical. And so something like this community bringing UNITYtime Podcast forward is such an important part of that learning process for everybody, because, you know, that's how we learn, sharing ideas, sharing experiences, challenging each other to do better and better. And I want to thank both of you for highlighting, you know, what is the real experience that Alcon aims to give you great support as you go on that journey. We know any change that you make is scary. Both of you described that there was some trepidation as you thought about moving to a new system. But, you know, we aim to have a whole team around you, as Ashley described, helping you get the right settings, as Matt described, you know, helping the staff to be comfortable with the new technology. That's a really important part of what we want to do. And, you know, these products, Unity, VCS and CS, you know, they're the start of really us pushing the next generation of products. You know, we've got more Unity products planned down the line, an all-in-one diagnostic, a microscope, refractive suite. So, you know, we intend to continue to make great technology that is in the market today even better, but that's only possible through partnership with people like yourselves. And then experiences like this to really share the learning are critical. So thank you to both of you for it. I found it fascinating listening in. And I think there's a few questions just beginning to pop up by the looks of things. So
yeah, it's interesting what you say too, because nothing is done in a silo. Like, we are all here to support each other and to further conversation around this. I think that's what's so kind of fun about having an online community as well. We can reach each other through LinkedIn, you know, through our support. We're always able and willing in this community in ophthalmology. And we do have a question coming in, and someone was asking how it feels bouncing between a Centurion and a Unity then, if two facilities have different machines. I can comment on this because that's what we're currently doing. So we opened an OBS. We have two Unity because we have two rooms in our OBS, but at my ASC, we still use Centurion, although they might transition soon. I think we're planning to join the call tonight to hear a little bit more about why I love this so much. It kind of feels like when I operate in our OBS now, it feels more of like a luxe experience is the best way to describe it. It just feels really easy and seamless. Everything feels very stable and straightforward. When I go back to Centurion, which usually happens like a day or two later, it still feels like a great experience. It just has a little bit fewer frills. Like, I'm not a car person, so I don't know how to put it in like car terms. The experience is just a little bit different as you're doing it. That's the best way I can describe it. I don't know, Matt, if you have a better description.
No, I have some experience with doing that as well. I think one point just to highlight, with Unity, you do not need to change technique. As you pointed out, the reps can kind of set you up. You're good to go. So I think there's just software built in. There's parameters put in place that just keep you in your lane.
That's a much better description. I like that.
And it's one of the things we'll keep developing. That's why this is so important. Actually, you guys sharing your experience. You know, there will be software updates as we go. You know, we've done several since we launched already that I think will improve the user experience over time and just get better and better, which is why this partnership and certainly those people that are early adopters is so critical to us, that you're doing that and sharing your thoughts with us so we can learn from it and adapt. So it's all part of the journey.
Are you guys going to be at ASCRS for any of the surgeons that might be attending? Like, would they have an opportunity to meet with you or to see or even demo the equipment?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, no, we'll have a big presence at ASCRS and there'll be lots of talks and workshops, and obviously the people on the stand as well to provide that information and get experience. So yeah, no, we look forward to seeing as many of you there as we can.
Yeah, that's fabulous. That's great. Any other questions? If anyone has anything, we do have one more now. Someone's asking how the system has changed from day one to now with the updates. Matt, have you seen experience? Because I know you were one of the earliest users of Unity.
Yeah, so we've had our systems now for over 8 months, and it's been terrific. I think the interactions with Elcon have been excellent, very surgeon focused, and so I'm really impressed with the receptiveness of ideas or goals. And as Ian just pointed out, the newest software update didn't come from Elcon. It actually came from you listening to surgeons, and so surgeons collectively saying, I want X, I want Y, I want Z. The newest software, you definitely feel a difference. And so if I look at this 8 months into this, I can only imagine where we're going to be as the community another 8 months from now. It's just a powerful platform to build on.
Do you know what some of those changes were in the software? I don't know if Ian or Matt can comment on what some of those changes were, or if that's a more, it's like difficult to describe because it's more of a feel thing, or.
There's just things on setup that were improved. I would probably call that more of a staff aspect to it. Also just enhancements in already robust chamber stability. I can even see enhancements beyond what we had in those early videos that we were looking at earlier. But yeah, I think there's newer things on the horizon that'll be rolled out in the next couple months that'll be even more receptive to what surgeons are looking for.
Yeah, I also think it's really nice to always be like improving your own settings as well. So even if you've worked with the rep and you're using Unity and you've had a number of cases in your belt, even a handful of months in, it's like, let's get them back in. Is there anything else I can optimize? Anything else that I can improve? So I think that's always important to continuously be innovating, even just for ourselves as surgeons with our own settings.
For sure. I can sense that. It seems like when you interact with the reps or a fellow surgeon, there's just a lot of knowledge being shared collectively. That's refreshing.
Yeah, that's great. If there are any more questions, anyone feel free to ask them now as we're slowly starting to wrap up. I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. This was our very first episode of Unity Time, our new podcast about community and Unity. And we hope that today's discussion and all the tea that we spilled around Unity and what it is has given some helpful perspectives to everybody.
Yeah, and I look forward to continuing these discussions. It looks like the UNITYtime series will continue with newer faculty, topics to discuss. I think this platform really represents an opportunity for us over the next months to years to really take our surgeries to the next level. It is ready to roll at this point, but what this is going to afford us to do is redefine some of the steps of surgery and just offer tremendous experiences, as you point out, Ashley, and tremendous outcomes.
Yeah, this is fabulous. And Ian, any final remarks?
No, look, just thank you, particularly to yourself, Ashley, and Matt for being brave enough to be the guinea pig starting this off and getting this rolling. I think it's a great community idea for it to be sharing the ideas. It's so fundamental to learning. And I want to thank you for your engagement and passion and enthusiasm for doing it.
Yeah, this is fabulous. Well, thank you, everyone. And again, if there's any last minute questions, feel free to reach out. We do have one last minute question that sneaked us in. Someone's asking about the hybrid tip and about efficiency with using the 4D phaco.
Yeah, I could tackle that. I mean, hybrid tip is not a novel concept for Elcon, and it's been a proven winner for some time. On more the moderate to softer cataracts. I think that is attractive to some surgeons. What seems to be really interesting, and this is again an example of taking our surgeries to the next level, there seems to be a synergy with the fluidics and 4D phaco with the hybrid tip. So I could envision just in using that with Unity, a resurgence of interest with 4D phaco. And the amazing thing about that possibility, you can literally use the phaco handpiece for all steps of the surgery. And so you remove the nucleus, you go to your cortex setting, and the hybrid tip literally can be used to remove cortex or even remove viscoelastic at the end of the case. So again, These are the new things that are going to be possible with Unity. We're going to start looking at some of our steps. And the great thing that you have with that is the handpiece delivering the outstanding fluidics with the sensors. And so I think that's an exciting thing to come, the hybrid tip being introduced with Unity.
Yeah, that's a really interesting insight. And I always think too, is we always try to improve efficiency. There's that risk for surge because as we're improving efficiency, we're, increasing activity and energy. So it's such a balance between the two. But I think what's so nice about this is that you're getting an extremely stable chamber while also having that efficiency that we're looking for. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Really good.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight on our first UNITYtime podcast, and we're looking forward to more of these in the future.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.